can hear you or someone breathing into their mic.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll fix it.
And we're live.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Growing Officials podcast. Per usual, we have a pretty hysterical start. So, we do this show every week, or we try to do it every week, and to cover aquaponic and cannabis related topics. We have some pretty awesome guests this week. We have Raphael from the RootStock, which is one of the only aquaponic education foundations to ever get national recognition. We also have JR Tokin from the Do Grow Show, Fish Ganja Guy, and Brian Grow. Marty will be joining us here shortly, and hopefully we'll get an aquaponic dummy and some of the other guys on tonight too. We'll see if they pop in or not. The Daxtractor guy wasn't able to join us last minute. Had something come up, but we're gonna get him on next week or the week after. So and we have some other really cool guests. Cool, man. Yep, and then the other programming note I have to start the show off is next week we might end up doing a kind of odd early time, at least for a short episode in the middle of the day, in the morning, with Mammoth P next week. They weren't able to do in the evening, but they were happy to accommodate us and still do one next Thursday, just earlier in the day. So we might do a short interview version with them, just so you guys are aware. Thanks for everyone for joining us. Raphael, thanks for joining us today. You want to tell us a little bit about the RootStock and what you do?
We essentially deliver a science, technology, engineering, and math curriculum through an agricultural filter or lens, if you will, because the water in aquaponics allows us to really see through the life processes. And in high school, we're capturing a lot of kids' imaginations. They are instantly addicted to it, and we've had great success. So the project that I'm involved with now is creating an economic framework in cities, in the inner cities where most of the kids that we're dealing with come from, and an economic framework for urban agriculture, which can, out of which can be derived multiple economies. So the idea is to get into the culture by making it hip with kids, especially in high school, get them out of high school to the point where they can become a part of effort to restore nutrition, quality nutrition in places where it has never existed, and including community work with expectant mothers and so forth, so that the benefits of real nutrition can be translated across generations. And if we can get to the point where we're doing that, then we're accomplishing our mission. That's what it is.
That's awesome. For those of you guys that don't know, I met Raphael, what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, back at the Aquaponic Source?
Yes.
And he came to take some of the different classes that we taught there, and then went back and took the knowledge that he took from that and went and built up the RootStock Foundation, got together with one of the local LA school district schools, and I ended up helping out a little bit with some of the stuff more recently in the last year and a half or so. But before that, he ended up winning a national award with one of the schools. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, they've won. It started in 2010, so I've got like a solid 7 years of classes going through senior year, and they have, over the course of that time period, they've improved their skills and their sensibilities, their intuition, and they can talk now about what they're doing in a way that is really meaningful and exciting to them. So they've been winning awards, and we won 2 Aspen Institute awards. which are considered national awards in food justice and food security. And that's a long story, but basically they just kept winning regionals and whatnot. And then most recently they won $80,000, which was like stunned me. But they won a $50,000 overall, and then 3 of their classes won $10,000 each for their presentations based on sustainability and the use of aquaponics as water conservation, and the use of spirulina as high quality nutrition. So they really amaze me, and as a consequence, we are now being asked to provide, actually I just today provided a drawing I sent to Stephen for an environmental and nature sciences center at Westchester Enriched Sciences Magnets High School, that involves like 8 different closed loops, and is inclusive with migratory bird ponds, with rain gardens and orchard, miniature orchard, with a simulated stream running from aquaculture to a pond, with just all kinds of stuff, aquaponic vegetables and fruit, as well as spirulina in one partitioned greenhouse that's big enough to consider production, and then multiple composting loops that are closed but wind up creating food for the fish. So we've really made an ecosystem out of that concept, and the LAUSD's architects and landscape architects are now looking at that. We met with 12 of those folks in the last few weeks, and so we're about to start rebuilding that whole thing, and we're going to inherit some greenhouse materials that we put in there, so we'll be able to start farming elsewhere.
Wow, that sounds like a beautiful thing. So is this orchard and all these this permaculture that you speak of going to be available for the high school students?
Yes, it's part of their science, technology, engineering, and math. But now that Common Core is being implemented, the next generation science standards are coming into being, and there's a timeline for those that brings us all the way to 2021 is when they're at a point where they will finally reach where we are right now. They're trying to cross-cut through subjects, and that's the whole point of the new next generation science standards, is to build kids that not only know, but know how to work in teams, how to work hands-on, how to take a project from beginning to end. You know, we do that with seeds, and the lesson is nonverbal, and they totally get it, and they know certainly how to work together on this kind of stuff.
So would you say that the funding for this is coming through the public school systems, or do you have to get a little more creative with your funding?
A little more creative. I'm getting support from Rotary and from a local community chest that is collected by. It's a fairly wealthy community where the school is. The kids are bused to the west side in Westchester, which is just south of Marina Del Rey, and so there's money in the area that I've been working with. There's a Chase Bank, it's been helpful. We've eked our way through it, and of course a lot of it is done just because we'll go out and collect stuff, and I personally finance a bunch of it as well. But what we're trying to do is do something that was way under the radar for all these years, because if you try to get into an LAUSD school and you do it the right way, you will never get there. You can't get a project started that is not part of the normal book discipline that they're connected with, the rote memory kind of education. But you know, I figured out an angle, and I went to some parents and got them excited about nutrition, because they relate to that immediately. and then explaining the science connection to and science history. There's all sorts of subjects that that literature that get into agriculture. But once you start talking about it, they just sit there and they can't say no. It's like once you know the truth, you can't deny it.
The truth
So
will set you free.
the truth will set you free, and those kids really did, man.
So Raphael, I have a question. Is this food that the kids are going to be growing going to be available for them in the schools? Because you're saying something about nutrition the other day.
Yes.
That people get. You were saying something about people get much less nutrition today, the way that the foods are produced, than they did a couple generations ago. And
Correct.
But you're telling us that these kids, this next generation, will be receiving the kind of nutrition as our, like my grandparents would, because they're growing and they're learning to grow it themselves through sustainable fashions. And that's what you're.
Yes, we're building resiliency into the community through learning how to grow self-sufficient products, things that make survival possible and, in fact, very enjoyable. There's culinary traditions that are connected to ethnic backgrounds, all these aspects of it that can, they do become part of the economy. You get people lusting for certain kinds of vegetables once they realize that it's available, because they're, in the big circle of food that you find at the supermarket, of course you get a tiny slice of the pie, because it's only foods agribusiness can grow and pick 2 to 3 weeks before they're ripe, and then ripen using ethylene gases and other methods for making the plant look like it's vine ripened, but in fact it has 3 weeks less nutrition than it might have gotten acquired through its full term. So there's that part of it, and the reason they have to do that is because it's only the foods that are hard enough that will survive all the mechanized handling. So by the time they get to the supermarket, they look very pretty, they're dressed up, but they're really dead. This is the knowledge that people don't have, and when you bring it to them and you explain it to them and you tell them, here's a way that you can actually grow a wider spectrum of food from seeds that may be as old as the Renaissance in some cases, and you can have it where you live. You don't have to have it trucked in. Well, they get excited about that because all they have really is Jack in the Boxes, Carl's Jr.'s and McDonald's, and the best of it is the In-N-Out. But I mean, it's all in essence either not good for you or it's out and out poison. So
well, that ethylene gas that you were mentioning, how does that affect the human body?
I haven't seen studies on it. I've looked for paperwork on that, but a lot of that is repressed information.
Yeah.
So you're not ever really going to find it. Now, irregardless of whether it is poisonous or not, it's the nutrition level that we're talking about, though. It's the idea that you are de-evolving the human species. This is something that you've got to grasp when you're talking about the industrial age. It started in 250 years ago, but the last 75 years is industrial agriculture, and in that process we lost and are losing bits and pieces of our humanity.
Wow.
Yeah, think it through.
Yeah, especially when people lose the knowledge of how to produce their own food.
Well, we're ignorant. I mean, if you walk up to a person on the street and tell them they don't have any place to go, they won't know the first thing what to do to survive. But a farmer does know. A farmer has a sense of self-sufficiency, has a sense of the ability to lead others into a direction that is proven, is truth, because he learned it from the earth, or she learned it from the earth.
Well, I've seen that they're even having success with some prison programs,
Right.
where they're teaching them how to grow their own nutrient-dense food. It's not only changing the way that they're eating, but it's changing the way they care and nurture something from seed to the table.
Exactly. And that's it. And once you make that connection, they're rooted into the earth again. Instinctively, they know, everybody knows, that once you're connected to the earth, you're connected to everybody. That's the connection that's missing in our society between people, is the common ground that we walk on is ignored. Not only is it ignored, it's damaged. We destroy it in our way of life, our consumerism, our high production, our corporate laws that require more and more production year by year in order to sustain a larger and larger economy. The growth that they're talking about, that is destruction of the earth, because the economy, until it reaches a point where it's based on reward for restoring what has been exploited, you're just going to have nothing but exploitation, because you're being rewarded to exploit. So the shift in the economy has to happen, and that's not going to happen until you get a consumer base that understands that from their education. So the idea that right now we're being looked at because when these kids won that award, every other school heard about it, and they're all clamoring for it. So the district was forced to recognize what we're doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Between that and hearing that this is going on in the prisons, that gives me hope for humanity.
Yes, there is hope for humanity. It's in the earth.
I know when I worked for the Aquaponic source, we sold a big aquaponic system to the Denver prison system for one of their big prisons in Denver, and those guys were cranking out a whole bunch of fish and food for those guys. So it's nice, it's nice to see it benefit, doing jobs training and benefiting a whole wide spectrum, not just children, but prisoners, and I know they just built a mental health facility in Denver where they're doing that for jobs training for people that have mental health problems, and it's really cool to see how it can affect all these different social groups.
Yeah, it's a wonder. They take to the seed, like in preschool. You can show a kid a seed and then let them see the continued growth, and they get it. It's nonverbal. It's the greatest truth lesson, and
yeah,
you don't have to say a word.
Now, Raphael, do you think that this could be setting a trend in high schools around America?
Oh yeah. Yes, and we're taking it. I've gotten calls from Chicago, a group that's working with the new Obama project that is set in South Park somewhere, and she is a pediatrician, which is perfect, and is now representing what we want to do there. But more than that, she's in touch with the people that are giving grants for ideas that will get kids working. And we see urban farming as a major play there.
Now, is that something that could be done through the Future Farmers of America through the education system?
The only problem is that it's still not in the minds of bureaucrats that agriculture can be in the city. So it does happen, but it's really going to happen because we motivate parents to become like a political force at the local school, and just get the principal to say, okay, I can't say no, and then use the spaces that are available, be creative with parking lots if you don't have grounds, and make it happen. Aquaponics is very flexible in that respect because of the configurations it can take, and it's such a wonderful thing to bring. It's really appealing to people at their deepest level, because you're explaining to them in a delicate way that they are presently dying slowly, Unfortunately, that's the reality. And how you get out of that is by taking control of your food and you know, I don't want to say it to schools, but your food and your medicine. You want to be able to grow the things that keep you healthy. But you can talk about food, and you're saying exactly the same thing. So it's not that difficult. It's just people need to get behind it, and I'm happy to say that the youth are getting behind it, and that makes all the difference in the world, because my work is done if I get enough of them. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that you're doing, and
thank you.
Yeah, you know, the scope of the impact that this is um, showing that it can make. That's what humanity does need to strive and thrive and fulfill our potential is to have people be able to bring their own food into their lives and be well nutrified to do whatever else they can imagine. And wow, this is
to be mindful of the earth while you're living here.
Do you want to talk more about the spirulina portion of your project?
Yeah.
So the spirulina portion is exciting because it is an actual medicine and it's a food. It's the most nutritious food on the planet, but it's most importantly, it's a natural chelation therapy that will glom onto heavy metals where it exists in the anatomy, and it chelates it, changes it molecularly, allows lead to release its grip, and then goes out through the urine stream. So we have a project that's Rotary is our primary backer here, we're talking about Rotary International because we're looking at this as a global problem, the problem of lead specifically. But what we're going to do first is go to Flint with juices that I'm hoping we're going to be growing in sunny environs, and then trucking juices that have spirulina and aquaponic vegetables and fruit that the children can take at lunchtime, and done on a daily basis. There's only 10,000 kids there. It's not that much. It will take some production, but I believe that with the right backing, we can get the facilities in place that will facilitate volume growth in actually not a very large amount, but enough to do those 10,000 kids.
It's probably did you say it was going to be in Flint, like Flint, Michigan, with the brown water or the orange?
Yes, right. Okay. The lead water.
Yeah.
So lead is one of our biggest problems as the result of gas emissions. From 1940 to 1995, when lead was banned, the entire municipal built environment, it became loaded with it, because that's where the cars are most massed. And the lead exists in all of the soil areas or any of the dust areas, and it's kids who are only 2 feet, 3 feet tall that when a breeze kicks up, they're breathing that lead. So lead poisoning is in 750 municipalities across America, and that's a conservative number. The problem with it is that when it gloms onto a developing mind, neurons are only created in the first 2 years. So the birth process gives us a human being that is ready to become productive, but if the heavy metal poisoning gets into the blood-brain barrier, now you've got a non-conducting substance in there that is interfering with the neural firing of synapses, and literally the kids can't put their memory together with what they're learning next. So it's like they fail by the 3rd grade because they can't put their memories together with what they're learning every day, so they can't memorize things. They get very frustrated. They fall into delinquency. It happens quickly. They become problem children. They become suspended, expelled. They get early pregnancies. They get hooked into drugs and gangs. They get into violence. They wind up in prison. It's a very vicious circle, and it really is that we have degraded the humanity over the course of this industrial period from about 1850 until now, and specifically with food since about the 40s. So it's something that we have to face up to, but we don't, because people die. And when they die, they might die sooner than somebody else, but if they're poor, nobody notices. Who cares about them? So what we're trying to literally do is bring back the self-preservation instincts in people, and make them want it. And it's the kids that really do. They once they see a lettuce grow, they want to eat lettuce suddenly. They want to eat kale. They want to eat celeries. And before that, the parents are like, how do I get my kid to eat vegetables?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that it's a universal motive is that we all want to live.
Right.
And
we all want to live.
We know that intrinsically. Yeah.
I think also that you said something that really struck home, in that when the kids when they get locked into it and they start getting the mindset of what we need to be doing productively is to repair and restore what has been damaged and taken away, then we're going to, as older people, hopefully will be able to die knowing that things have been turned around and we're working towards a better process, a better progress.
Yes.
It's great to hear that the younger generation is feeling that hope, because I feel that a generation older, there's a lot of apathy. A lot of people feel as though the end is already coming. There's nothing we can do. Just time to embrace it and like see the last of days. And it's like they've given up. It's almost as though that belief itself is part of what's creating this self-fulfilling prophecy of such universal threats to humanity, and people not changing their practice because of it. And but to hear that the next generation is wisening themselves up to their their potential and the greater calling, and not just giving in the apathy that I feel. It sickens me that I feel a lot in my personal age group when I go around, and just the attitude of people. It's just life is not a joke. I mean, it can be funny, it can be fun, but people just act like it's a satirical like everything else, like just to give up. And
they do think life is a joke.
This gives me hope. This gives me a conviction that there is people becoming self-sufficient in the harmony with nature.
If we can keep infiltrating our hippie values into the school system.
But I had a specific question, Raphael. Yes. You said in the last 40 years that there has been some sort of opposition to our humanity as a result of the Industrial Revolution. And
well, it's well, I don't want to badmouth industry. I mean, well, I just what I want to say is we learned a lot from all the things that have come. Everything in its own time is proper, but the time now is to recognize that in the process of learning everything that we did from the combustion engine and from the use of chemicals and the use of poisons and insecticides, what we have come to learn has to be faced. We unfortunately live in a time of denial. We have science denial and people that have monetary interest. And so when you examine that monetary interest, what you're looking at is people who are motivated by money because they're being rewarded for the exploitation, not for the restoration. There's a second half of the economy that's missing, which is the one that will make us mindful, makes us conscious, makes us work together, want to work together. In fact, we do better when we work together when in the restoration of resources, because it's a big planet compared to us, but it's not that big compared to the relative size of the cosmos. And I think it was Hawking just in the last week said humanity has another 100 years, and that's it.
Even that, I mean,
yeah, that was the greatest mind alive today is predicting 100 years if we continue, well, continuing on the course that we're on. So that is pretty dire news.
I mean, that's one perspective. I mean,
well, yeah, but it's a pretty well learned. It has to do with not acknowledging, and then doing something about climate change.
Well, okay. Did he also take into account biological disease and whether or not we end up spawning a nuclear war? I think those were the other factors in his equation, if memory serves me right.
Yep, that's true. But all of those are addressed through this new awareness of what we have in common, the need to preserve it. I mean, that's across borders. That's something that can get kids started in projects across borders so that they grow up used to working together. We don't have leadership that wants this because we've been learning an economy that is, instead of working together, it is making others fail. It's I win. If I kill you.
I would say that that's very true, that it's been a system of competition, not cooperation. And we as a species have our best elevation when we work in cooperation with each other,
right,
not in competition with each other.
Correct.
Yes.
But,
yes, I believe that to be such a conviction of mine as well. That what has caused our survival so far is the cooperation, and that competition and conflict are fundamentally opposition to our survival and quality of life.
Right.
And people believe that it's like survival is fittest, that has so much to do with our living, but that's why, just like when you help somebody and do something good to aid another survival, you feel good about it. That chemical release in your mind is your DNA telling you this is how your ancestors made it, was by helping each other.
Right.
And I feel have got it misconstrued to think that it was the violence that and the hoarding which helped people survive, because those things have only caused people to
correct. But that's how
or to suffer.
But that's how we teach, because the educational system basically is by force having to prepare kids to succeed in the economy that we have, which is based in high production and consumerism, and it has no braking mechanism, has nothing that will slow it down, because in order for the system to continue in that manner, you've got to keep making more money. So it's money for the sake of money, and what it can buy is questionable as far as its value really to our lives. That's why everybody knows you can't take it when you go. But
and even that, so many things are wasted. Every time anyone wants to have a bite to eat or a glass to drink, they need a different container,
right?
And then all that stuff ends up just congregating in the ocean, and
right. So if the reward motivation for profit could consciously be approached by people voluntarily because they learned it in school, let's just say the next generation, and you establish values that say half your values when you produce this beautiful product is going to be withheld until you demonstrate what you're doing to restore the resource that you borrowed from, and then you get your profit. So there's half of the work is still missing. Look at all the packing that you're using for this. Well, the more you use of that, the less you're going to get in profit, because it's costing you some, but we're also going to withhold a piece of that economy until you show how you're making the consumer able to reuse that material or put it back. So the language has to be developed, obviously. Pardon me?
That half of the work that's missing, it's so strange to me that in a time with more universal threat and more people than ever before, more things that need to be done for people. And
Right.
it's also a time in which there's no jobs, or less jobs.
Right.
People talk about there's no jobs. What do you mean there's no jobs? There's so much that needs to be done.
Right.
Why is it that the many willing and able out there on the street, just because of this shortage of jobs, are unable to help with the
Right.
need for change of humanity so that people can do things like
Right, but an
provide
example of,
themselves with food
how an example of how a voluntary system might work is that if you have a more aware society as a consequence of education, and they get to a point where they're earning money, they are producers, they have their corporation, they want more profits, they're working toward that, they're trying to grow their wealth, which is all viewed as positive by our society. But that person knows also that their products are not going to be bought because there's consumers down there that also are looking to see the credentials of their sustainability. So this corporation is now in a position where either they're going to do sustainable stuff or they're going to donate their money to programs where people are scouring the beaches for plastic, lifting it out of riverbeds, going up into primitive environs and making sure that the watershed is working properly in teams. You know, people that are being paid to do this, to keep the environment healthy. And until we have that kind of cooperative willingness to voluntarily restore what we're taking from the earth, then it's just going to continue degrading. And we have, as a society, accepted that. We believe that there is no other way.
Well, you know, I bet you people would do that if they printed some money for that.
Well, that's exactly what the carbon tax economy is trying to accomplish and is doing in other parts of the world. But we resist it because our politicians are in bed with energy companies. So there's a juggernaut that has to be broken, and we're not going to do it by competing with it. We have to improve our society compared to our leadership. The leadership is going to continue to take bribes, and they're going to continue to make decisions that are against the interests of the planet and the rest of us, because they feel like they're feathering their nest and they're entitled to do that. The only way that changes is by raising awareness among people, and the most effective way to do that is by making it part of the educational system. And that is what educators and bureaucrats at the district level need to understand, that we're either preparing these kids to just go out there and do more destruction, or we can still teach them everything that they wanted to learn, and perhaps better, through a filter that gives them appreciation for the earth and makes them responsible as they grow, where they feel a connection.
Now, have you seen any resistance to this trend starting in schools, or this idea happening where you are implementing it?
Only in Louisiana. I was working there in New Orleans prior to starting this here, and what happened was I got my life threatened. A farmer came up and, out of the audience and told me that he wanted to kill me. So that was really amazing. But that's the Midwest. It's huge. Farming is huge there.
Did he give you a reason?
Oh yeah, I was talking against Monsanto and that's all based there in Missouri, like St. Louis is the heart of it. And so this was a farming convention, a farmers convention that was happening. And I got up and asked a question of a speaker that was there.
Do you think you could tell us that question?
Pardon me?
Do you think you could tell us that question?
What the question?
Monsanto provides food for a lot of people. I think that the question that you asked them, the one that caused them to.
Well, it was related to Katrina, because the hurricane had just come through, and the way that farming relates to that is that farming throughout the Midwest deposits huge amounts of super rich nutrient that simply washes through dead soils into the Mississippi River. And the mouth of the Mississippi falls out right in the bayou country of Louisiana. So the net result is that it changes the life in the ocean ecosystem, and the levees that have to be built to compensate for the destruction that we cause through the nutrient. The way that works is that the nutrient feeds new kinds of algal blooms that are very aggressive, and they suck all the oxygen. So all the other sea life dies from hypoxia. In addition, it desiccates, takes out all or adds salt into the roots of all the spartine grasses that hold together the whole Gulf Coast. And when that happens, they fall into the ocean, and then it's a thing called subsidence, and the whole coastline is falling in. So what used to be a buffer against hurricanes has been dissolved by literally agriculture. It has been turned into subsidence that it takes about a football field every 38 seconds, I think is the number that we're talking about. That's the erosion rate along the Gulf Coast from Texas to Florida to the Keys.
So this is released from the runoff of watering crops, or what?
Yes, it's the runoff from agribusiness that uses much more chemical than it needs for everything. It's so overkill.
And it seems strange to me that would be cheaper than not using the chemicals. Seems like those chemicals are probably it's a complicated production to create them, and having them in such bulk would be an expensive thing. why would they do that instead of not? Do you think it really saves them money? Or is there some other intention?
There's other factors. There's agricultural subsidies that are guaranteed by the government. So they don't have to make that much money. They just basically have to stay in business, and they have to look like they are this huge powerhouse that the government can't let die. And they do that through the use of petrochemically derived nutrients that are super rich, but because they've killed all of the life in the soil, when irrigation happens, all that nutrient just washes right through, and it goes directly into the Mississippi. The Mississippi carries it right down to the Gulf, and that's the issue. So my question was, do you really have to do that is that necessary? Why are you in league with chemical companies that seem uncaring about the destruction of the Gulf Coast? And now look at the destruction it's caused once the barrier reefs were destroyed. So because that's what happened. They all subsided into the ocean. There's no more cushion against the wind. So that was the question.
Yeah, I've heard with Monsanto that. I mean, I can't answer why personally, Steve. I mean, I think. I've heard that with Monsanto they have a genetically modified seed that is able to be Roundup resistant, so they can spray Roundup and kill all the other herbs.
Right.
And has less labor intensive.
And there's also it's
already been like that in Texas. The cotton that they grow here in Texas is Roundup ready.
Right, Roundup ready. Is what it is. Yeah, that's
ready.
So the genetic modification is making the plant that you want to grow immune to glyphosate by putting the poison into the actual plant. So
now, is that poison part of what these runoffs is causing the effect of these runoffs?
Yeah, that's a similar. Well, that's the poison that's destroying the life in the soil. It's the nutrient, which is petrochemically based, very powerful nitrogens that are derived out of oil and fertilizer too. But in any event, they're super rich, and when they get into the river, they change the ecosystem everywhere that they go.
It's similar to like synthetic salts too, right? That they use with fertilizers as well. So when you use a synthetic salt to bind a fertilizer that's already available,
right,
so that it will last longer and stay in a bottle,
Correct.
That you can add water weight to it, which obviously water weight has a huge markup. So what happens is you get these high nitrate products, and you get an overabundance of fertilizer washing through, like they're talking about the dead soil.
Right.
And it brings about an interesting concept that they talk about a lot in the Probiotic Farmers Alliance, which is the idea of having beneficial runoff, of changing some of those to using effective microorganisms, and be, some of the the biggest change that you can implement, because obviously in aquaponics we have basically zero runoff. You have evaporation and that's it, and those systems are great, but I feel like there could also be that other aspect where you have these huge agricultural places that could just switch over to using different practices with similar inputs, save money in most cases, and have beneficial runoff. So instead of having synthetic salts washed out or having pesticides washed out, you could be having excess beneficial bugs, or you could be having excess effective microorganisms, or lactobacillus, or whatever it is that you're using in your sort of more probiotic farming methods.
Right, but that doesn't meet the volume needs of agribusiness, because keep in mind they have to make it look like they're huge and they can't go broke. And that's when the government comes in with the government subsidies, and it doesn't matter how much it costs them. But you're right, those salts are exactly what desiccates the spartine grasses, the roots, and causes the whole coastline to give way.
Well, if people's food is made cheaper from a good source, because these companies are doing it for the money,
right?
If it was made cheaper from a good source, such as which would the only way to do that feasibly by competing with them would be to make it closer, less of that travel time, which is what's depleting the nutrition anyway, and the popularity of these ideas in farmers markets, or like with the schools, and other such things, to bring it closer and beat it on the dollar, so that people are more motivated to do what's a better thing. I mean, that's the only way I feasibly see taking the power away from the hands of people who are committing unsustainable and dangerous outcomes from their pursuit of the same dollar.
A worship of the dollar.
If I can interject something, I just like to look at you guys are all aquaponics, these people, when you're using fertigation or something, or like you're talking about applying nutrients in this concentrated form from chemical companies, is similar to what they're doing with fertigation in a lot of row crops.
Right.
And what runs across the bedrock and washes into your water, your streams, it'll be the same way as if you added the extra nutrients and such to your aquaponic system.
Yes.
And the thought I was just having, since I'm not an aquaponic guy, but I am a fertigation and hydroponic guy, and we're running across that, and nobody was mentioning the fact that this was by running into the streams, it's the same as those extra nitrates and stuff getting into your aquaponics or hydroponic system, either way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like algae blooms or any of that same stuff, that you actually see it faster in aquaponic system because it's such a smaller environment. But when you have such a large scale agriculture system running, that can match the scale of, like especially small to medium size, like wetlands, you can have algae blooms that will encompass an entire wetland system because of it. And, so it's definitely the same type, and it's even easier to see in aquaponics because your systems are so much smaller.
Very true. What's interesting about aquaponics is the recirculating nature of it, and its constancy, and the fact that you don't have to drain it. So in California, I don't see a different way. I think that really is what we need. And there's so much food that gets wasted because of our centralized farming, that if we can disintegrate the monolith of industrial agriculture and then reintegrate it the way that agriculture began, where people live.
Yeah.
So that they're a part of it.
Yeah.
Then you have less waste because people know naturally to grow what they're going to sell. And if they don't, they can compost it, make food for the fish, and
fish.
Yeah, worms and larvae and whatnot. So there's a lot that can be said for it when it's local and it's being managed by people, because it's not just agriculture for supermarkets, it's food for themselves. It's their medicine.
I read on the cover of a National Geographic.
Yes.
51% of the food in America goes to waste.
Yep, that's right. It sits in fields, or it falls by the wayside in transit.
Or it rots. Yeah, it rots. Yeah, it gets wasted.
And that might be a low estimate.
It goes to the store, and then it goes bad in the store because it doesn't sell. That's a lot of it too.
Right.
A lot
yes.
of the waste.
Very true.
Imagine if 51% of the food hit the market tomorrow and all the food was half off.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they have a really cool commercial that's been airing recently where they have a camera that follows a strawberry from the time it's grown to the time that it gets picked and then cleaned and shipped and on a truck and into the store and rinsed again and then onto the shelf and then bought and then into the fridge, and then eventually it just ends up molding in the back.
Interesting. Yeah, that happens a lot. It's because it's a business, and they consider that part of doing business. But there's the reality. There's a quarter of the children in America go to sleep hungry every night. And that shouldn't have to be the case.
And not only that, but food itself is life so sacrificed for us to live. Mm-hmm. It seems like if we, to get the energy of the sun photosynthesized into the plant, into our heartbeat, or into the animal that took it, we have to sacrifice life. And the fact that so much of that life is sacrificed for naught, just to I mean, I guess the mold and bacteria, they still eat it, but
it's a shame. But it
seems like since we took the life, we should honor it by trying to waste less.
Exactly. Here. I like that. And that runs counter to the way we do things now, because now it's really just the acquisition of money. That's what drives people, and that's what bureaucrats in schools need to understand as well, that they're creating a mill that puts out people that are not conscious. They're not here to improve the world. They're here to compete with one another. And we call it capitalism, but it's destroying the planet. Start accepting that.
And how many people win the game of Monopoly?
Yeah, and they're the ones that, and the bureaucrats are the ones that have the brain share in their control. So I urge you guys, if you get started in schools, to work through parents. Get them excited about their children, and then they will help you get into the school. You'll never get touched by the district, and hopefully we're going to be in a bunch of schools, and we're going to be needing a whole lot of people to help us. So I pray for that day.
Well, if there's any way that the people here at the Free Earth can help out, and at Potent Ponics,
you already are.
We're with you.
You already are. Tonight is excellent. I haven't had a chance to talk to a bunch of knowledgeable people about this since I don't know when. This is great getting here.
I'd love to hear some more from some of our other guests.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about some serious things.
Is there any other projects or anything else you wanted to talk about? The one other thing I was going to touch on before we switched guests was the work with the NASA Science Museum. Did you want to talk about that at all?
Sure. We got called and asked to provide a space-based farm for the new museum that's going to be built around the space shuttle at California Science Center. In Exposition Park there by USC, and
wow,
so it's going to be aquaponic. We are going to have some algae because we know, I've been talking to people at NASA, and they tell me that algae really is the food for space travel. But once
it's fuel, you can make fuel.
You make it in space, right? Well, but considered in orbit, right? In other words, you're not at a place. You're not colonizing. When you colonize, now that's when you need that culinary tradition to start, and that's where real food comes into play. So the farm we're talking about is not space-based in orbit. It's space-based in colony, in situ. So that's exciting. We're on a timeline through 2018. So pretty soon we're going to start developing a prototype of a Ferris wheel looking thing that will work by rotating and bringing troughs of food into an aquarium at the bottom section where they soak, and then just continue moving around in a circle around a light in the center of the Ferris wheel, and the plants are growing toward the center.
In space with the artificial gravity, centrifugal force kind of thing.
Well, this one works in an actual framework that is a Ferris wheel. It looks just like a Ferris wheel.
On Earth or in space?
It's actually, it would be inside of I'm imagining a dome that gets built, and now you're growing food on Mars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is what they're aiming at. So
yeah, I feel that's yeah.
So being able to do that using nutrient that comes from an ecosystem, you're in the process of creating the basis for life. You start to add to those circles through the compost. You're improving the soil. You're making the microbes. You're doing the things that are the finer points of terraforming a new and hostile planet. And it's interesting. It's interesting that what we learn here on Earth is what is going to enable us to terraform other planets. It's through what we learn from our Earth, from our own planet. That's the only place where learning comes from. And
Raphael, can I chime in? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Raphael, can I chime in on that for just a moment here?
Sure.
I would wonder, why would nature create us, a species, with the capacity to dream its world and its environment into existence at such jeopardy to all the other life that lives on this planet? And you just wonder why it would take this risk.
Well,
and I feel like I see it. I see other animals on the planet migrating over oceans, catching the wind or another animal or whatever it is to try to expand the expression of the beauty and bounty of life on Earth around itself. And I realized, I think that our intention as people, from nature's perspective, was to create something that had the ability to take our brilliance and beauty of Earth's expression of life outside into the womb of Earth and into the cosmos.
We have both capacities.
Well, can I say something for a second? I think if you look at the way they see our Milky Way galaxy being set up, we're at the very, very far tip of one arm of the galaxy, and it's kind of lonely and desolate out here. But the reason we're not in the middle where all the action is because we would fuck it all up.
Exactly. So we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
We are.
We got to get there.
So until we figure it out, we're stuck out here.
Yeah, it's interesting though that we are a life form that can reflect on things, as you were saying, C-Funk, that we reflect on things. We bring perspective. And we understand things because we observe and we add to our base of knowledge. We are orderly. We organize thought and this and that. But I've thought that it's the universe. We're a part of that universe. And if we can be either a beneficial, or we can be an aggressive and destructive force, both. We have that capacity.
We are both.
And when we're really really mindful and conscious, you know, we're like the universe thinking. We are the way that the universe thinks because we're a part of it. We're the brain of the universe. Mars doesn't know who it is. Well, or maybe it knows it much better than we do, but we're the ones that can actually take that composition and understand it in depth. And I don't think there are very many other life forms that can do that. So I have to think that humans are very special, but we're so special that we can be destructive to our own planet.
Understand it in depth. From
Yep.
the miracle of our birth until the mystery of our death.
Yep. The challenge is discovering why we're here and hoping that it comes in because we're here to do good, and restore, keep the what we inherited at the same quality so that we have something to give to future generations. Now, we don't think in terms of 200-300 year cycles like the Native American did, but that is what's necessary now. We have to be training kids to have those kind of conscious awarenesses. That was redundant.
No, well, I mean, I've heard a lot of cultures. The people there will know some 500 or more plants in their environment that they can utilize as food or medicine.
Right.
And most people in at least the city, where the ground has been paved and plants come in on a vehicle that drives down that road to feed them, they don't know 500 plants that grow in their environment. And if something like those vehicles stop coming one day, it would be really hard for those people to find what they're going to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it really has to do with how we train our kids. It's how we educate them. That's the purpose of school. We have to find it again.
Alrighty.
This is redundant too, but Raphael, it's so cool that you're doing this and making this influence in our time, in our world.
Thank you, man.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we talk about some of the other projects people are working on here?
I want to hear everybody else's project.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Would you like to tell people how to find you or how to reach out to you?
TheRootStock.org, www.TheRootStock, and that's stock like STOCK. Some people spell that STALK, and it won't reach the website. So it's www.therootstock.org.
Alrighty, I'll put that in the description of the video here as well, if anyone's looking for it.
Okay. Thank you all.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Marty, what you got going on this week? Aside from waiting for the baby.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you're coming through clear.
Sorry, from mute. Was screwed up for a second. Anyway, yeah, mostly waiting for the baby. Pretty much got the same grow going on here. I did have one of the other praying mantis eggs hatch. So I got little baby praying mantis jumping on my shoulder throughout the podcast, which is kind of fun. They run up here on the chair and then they jump over on my shoulder. Here, let me see if I can grab a picture of one. I don't know if this is going to be long enough or not. No, it's not. They were crawling over the walls and stuff earlier, so anyway, I'll take some pictures and stuff. But anyway, so those take a while to hatch, and one of them hatched about maybe a week and a half ago or so, a week ago, something like that. So second one hatched now, and they're crawling around, and I have some lace wings crawling around. These are about 5 weeks that you're looking at.
What do the praying manti eat? What do the praying manti eat, if you don't mind me asking?
They eat pretty much any bug that they can get their hands on. They're kind of like one of the more universal bugs, but I would say the only thing that they don't really handle too well is extremely small insects or eggs of insects. So if you have like spider mites, they're not overly effective against those unless they're basically starving. But if you have things like aphids or thrips or pretty much any larger pest that you want to get rid of, they're great for that. And for the most part, they're for my kids. They really love waiting for the eggs to hatch and playing with them when they come out. And they get pretty good size. A couple of them will survive and become adults. I've never had any reproduce in the garden, but they're always kind of fun to have in the springtime. And I take a couple out to the outdoor gardens and release them out there. And usually there's one or two of them that will hang around until the end of the season. And so that's pretty cool.
It sounds like fun. It'd be cool if
Yeah.
you knew how to allow them to reproduce. I wonder what they're. It was keeping them from getting it out. I mean,
it's a good thing though. It means you don't have enough bugs to feed both of them enough to want to breed there.
Yeah, they decapitated the other one. Yeah, so probably the one that does reproduce the best, I would say, would be lacewing, and they're kind of cool because their larva stage is sort of like this little alligator-like insect that crawls around and eats small stuff, big stuff, mites, aphids. They're pretty fast, so they're definitely cover a lot of ground, and they can cover up to 100 feet before they eat their first meal, is what a lot of them say. So they're relatively easy in terms of like temperature and humidity and stuff. Most of the predator bugs that I use, like predator mites and stuff like that, they require a higher humidity than you like to run in flower. They're usually like 70% plus. So in order to get your pressure right and keep everything right, if you want to have that much humidity, you have to run your room pretty hot. So they can be difficult to manage and keep around. They're good for, I would say, like spawn infections, but lacewing larvae, you can keep releasing them, and they'll even, like I said, they'll reproduce in your garden, pretty consistently. But they come on these little cards. Here, I'll grab one. And they just have little eggs stuck on the card.
Ooh.
And you leave them out. And they hatch within about, I would say about 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
And they eat all kinds of stuff. So they'll eat eggs, they'll eat, mites, and they get in fights with the mantis and stuff too. So it's pretty entertaining for sure.
How are they for fungus gnats?
They're great, especially when the mantis first hatch. They'll be running around all over the root zone top and taking out a lot of those as they try to crawl up. A lot of fungus gnats aren't able to fly as soon as they hit the surface, so they're pretty vulnerable there.
What about the lacewings? Do they go after those too?
What's that?
The lacewings go after them too. I mean, that's really the only pest we have issues with.
Yeah, and then I would say the only other one I would recommend for that. So they're called thrips predators, and there's one other one that I would recommend that really crews the root zone pretty hard, and that's probably the best way to get rid of fungus gnats, in my opinion. Is
whitefly a fungus gnat?
No, I think it's something else.
No, it's different. I mean, it's similar.
It's a moth.
Yeah.
Annoying.
They reproduce in the top of the soil in the same way. It's kind of where they're vulnerable. So they'll have similar predators, but they're definitely different bugs. You can actually get whitefly predators. They're like these little worms. They'll get in the eggs and take them out as well. So I'll post the link to the.
That's cold.
Yeah, it's good stuff. They come on a little card too. Here, I'll show you. So that's what the little card it comes on. You can see down here on the bottom, the little circle. That's where they hatch out of.
Put the card down just a little bit. It was applied bionomics. What is it?
Here. There's the name of the bug right there.
Okay.
And then here's the website.
You're hold it there for a second. Let it focus. It's applied. Ah!
Is that good?
That's perfect. That's just what I needed.
Okay, you got it.
Bio-nomics. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Show the species again real quick.
No, Steve.
Because it's in focus now.
Close your attention.
There you go. Yeah,
There.
Carcia.
So, and I get those from naturescontrol.com is the website. And they're actually based here locally. So I can drive out to the store and talk to the guy. His name's Nathan. And that's where he sources a lot of his bugs from as well. So you can hit their website directly. Or if you're in Southern Oregon and you want to stop by and hit up the shop, you can do that as well.
Cool.
So yeah. So let me see if I can get over here maybe. Oh, here I need to switch back so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get in here.
Nugs.
Doesn't want to focus, but anyway, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
man. So they got about, I would say, about 2 to 3 weeks left on the Oregon Blackberry, and so doing pretty well. We talked a lot about, or a little bit before about, sort of reusing different stuff and sort of recycling, and most of that is kind of what this whole thing is here. This is a shelf that I use for the sort of the scrag rack, just with some 2x4 scraps I had laying around. And then these lights are old gym lights that I bought off of Craigslist, $25 used. They were 400 watt metal halide lights, and I ordered ceramic metal halide replacement lamps for them. So they're 330 watt conversion bulbs, and they just screw right in. And so for about 91, $92 each, I got a ceramic metal halide. So it's definitely, I feel like, a significant increase over, or I would say more efficient grow light over what I've used before. And I've used 600 watt HPS. I've never used 1,000 watt just because it gets too hot for my garage here, but I'm able to run
fire.
Yeah, I like fires. No, but I definitely feel like I can run these in here no problem. And even though I got up to about 90 degrees outside today, it still didn't break 80 in here. So that's definitely a lot better than when I was trying to run the 600 watt HPS. It was just, the AC was constantly running, and it would still spike up to around 92 or so, and was just getting too hot. So that's when I switched over and I bought just LEDs and ran those because it was a lot cooler. And now I'm able to throw these in here as well. And it actually dropped the temperature when I put in these two lights by about 8 degrees. So that 70 watts per lamp that was previously going to heat now essentially isn't, because the output of the lamps themselves are about the same in terms of lumens and PAR and all that stuff. It's just not producing all the heat that it was before. And then I'm not also using more power in my AC to get rid of the heat after I consume the power to start with. So I definitely feel like for the money, ceramic metal halide, at least in my experience here, is definitely an improvement over older technologies.
Nice.
Yep. So yeah, that's about it for me. I don't know what I missed or what you guys already covered, because we had lightning storms outside, so I missed the first part of the show.
No, we didn't get to any of the topics that you and I went over. We'll get to that in a few. I figure we'll get to the guest stuff, and then we'll throw the topics on the floor.
Sounds good.
What about you, JR Tokin? What have you been up to? All right. What about Fish Guns
Sorry,
guy?
no. I'm sorry you caught me.
No. You lost your turn, JR. Back you go.
Go ahead, Fish.
No turn for you.
All right, you want to go, JR?
Sure.
All right. Well, it's nice that you want to, but it's still my turn.
I know.
Go
I
ahead.
know. Well, I got some great news today from Dinesh from Optic Foliar. I'm doing a giveaway, or actually, he's giving it all away. But I set up a giveaway through Instagram, Google Plus, and I'll be recording a YouTube video tonight. And basically, the first 24 people to email them at sales@opticfoliar.com, they get a 4-pack of the 8.5-ounce bottles of Transport, Attack, Rev, and Watts. And basically, I set it up because I want to show people how to make their own overgrow. Or if they're like, say they're in a week 1 or 2 of flower, they have some pest problems they need to take care of, or they want to do some IPM for PM, then they can use the products without the Watts and the Rev and just use the ATAC and go in and spray down everything rather than having the risk of having too much nitrogen as you're trying to go into flower. So that's pretty awesome. And
Yay!
Yay! And also, I'm going to be doing a new round of genetics. I made a post last week regarding the genetics I'll be using, but I also got a Instagram message from Brad at the Raw Genetics, and he's going to be sending me a couple of his that he wants to have in on the head-to-head round. So we're going to have some stuff by Ken's Granddaddy Purple, which is a Purple Valley OG. We're going to have Ocean Grown sent me their Dark Plasma, and the other ones will be CTU from Raw Chemistry, and we also have the Do-Si-Do by OGKB, that Fish Ganja guy gave me. And then there's also a Folgers that was a breeding project we did a while ago. So we're going to be sprouting 2 seeds from every variety. And we are going to go through the process of sexing and cloning for motherhood and all that stuff as a new segment on the channel. It's something I've never done before on the channel. But yeah,
Awesome.
so
that's exciting.
Can you tell people how to find you? What was the name of your channel?
My channel is J.R. Tokin, Tokin. And you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and you can also find me on Google Plus in the DGC crew.
Awesome. If you want to send the link and throw the link up in Hangout chat, I'll post that in the description as well.
Okay.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah. And I talked to Dinesh, and he really wants to be on the show next week. And,
oh yeah, we're gonna.
And also he had mentioned
he's got some cool stuff to talk to us about. He said. I was talking to him a little bit. I'm not gonna spoil it for him, but he's got some cool stuff to talk to us about.
Yes, he does. I talked to him about it today. It's going to be pretty exciting, I think, for you guys.
Yeah,
and
you guys are in for a treat next week.
Well, he didn't talk to me about this.
And he said that if this promotion that we're doing right now with the giveaway, if it goes well, we may be able to do it again. So as long as we're successful in showing interest in the product, I think he's going to be more than generous in what he gives people for samples.
Absolutely, and I know he's been working with the Do Grow Show guys for a long time now, for a couple of years, almost since the beginning. So
yes, yeah, he's DGC from the beginning for sure.
Yep. Thanks a ton, man. Is there anything else you got going on before we move on?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. What are you up to, Fish Ganja guy?
Well, first, I just want to ask Marty, because I saw him over there smelling the plants. How are they doing, man? You're getting closer to harvest, and so you give a quick sniff.
Oh, it smells so good in here right now.
Yeah, I've had to turn my fan up all the way. I'm going to have to get a second one in there. I'm getting that point, too. But what are the flavors you're getting with that?
Oh, dude, the Oregon Blackberry by Peach Frost, it's like super fruity, and it takes over the whole room right now. It's a little farther along, but I feel it. It smells a little like more like a piney, almost like a Jack Herer or something like that. It's got some feedback going.
Dude, love it.
Okay, that's mine. Anyway, so yeah, so a little bit more of a pine solly flavor to it, and then the shishka berry back here in the corner, which I can't really get the camera over there, but it's the one where if you could look at the pictures in the Cannabis Growers group, the bud itself is purple, and I've grown it a couple of times, and it always smells real sweet, and lives up to the berry name, and deep purple nugs, good stuff.
Dude, yeah, God, I wish we got to invent smell-o-vision somehow. If nothing else for our industry.
We need to have like terpene, like the mix of the different terpenes, and you can put it in and it can scan it and then like reproduce the smell on your desktop. That'd be great.
I'd buy it.
I wonder if I was just gonna say, I wonder if people would buy that.
That would sell out pre-sale, man, for like a year.
Fuck up and take my money.
You'd have to buy reloads of the chemicals that reproduce the smells.
Still would be worth it though.
I'd still buy it.
Yeah, I'd still buy it.
Anyways,
I'll pay a couple $100 for that, That'd be dope.
All right, Steve, you got to get to work on that. But see what's going on over here. I'm on day 34 of flower. Everything's looking good, man. Everything's fantastic side by side with Spectrum King and Black Dog's going really well. Everything's super terpy. Like I was saying, the smell's just getting out of hand. I've got my 6-inch can fan turned up to max, and I'm gonna have to get a second scrubber in there, which is kind of a first. Usually the one does it, but it's well, JR, I'm not sure if you're still by the mic, but just gauging by those pictures that I sent you earlier, would you say you'd expect it to be kind of strong in that tent, or not tent, but the room? Because I've got things that are already tacoing pretty hard right now with resin trails.
What was the first thing you said? You were cutting out a little bit.
I got the first and the last, but what was that middle part again? I was saying, judging by the pictures that I sent you earlier, would you expect the room to be fairly stinky at this point?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
you would think so, because you've got, like I said, you've got on those Cross of the Titans, you've got resin glands on your fan leaves all the way to the tips, underneath, and all around. So all those have to be full of terps and be putting off smell for sure.
Dude, I'll go in there, not touch anything, come out, and for like an hour I stink. I just get looks.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Looks fantastic. And
then Marty, I'm not sure if it's still your cell number. Hopefully it's not somebody else's. I sent you a picture earlier of some crystal cookies. In-house genetics that are just going absolutely bonkers right now.
You guys hear that thunder?
What's up?
I don't know if you guys could hear that thunder, but it was like right over the top of my house. Sounded like a rifle shot.
Well,
anyway,
if you suddenly vanish out again, then we'll know what happened.
Yeah, it gets black as fuck in here. And yeah, if you send me a picture, I haven't seen it yet because my phone's in on the charger. So
okay, but yeah, everything's going great right now. All the strains are fantastic. Everything we're going from in-house genetics, from 42, from let's see, who else? Geist Grow from the Humboldt Seed Organization. I've got some Critical Cure in there. I've got some Super Harlequin as well, and a little bit of more Jelly Breath and Urkel Buck from Urkel Buck's from the Andromeda Genetics, and Chili Breath. Jelly Breath from In-House Genetics is just an awesome one. The best cut I've seen is from Two Tone Willie, who's going to be doing an interview on Dude Grow Show pretty soon. But it's a fantastic strain, man. I definitely, if you guys have the means to go by Neptune Seed Bank or any of the ones that carry in-house, look for it. It's just a monster, like absolute frost monster. I cannot like vouch for it enough.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but pretty much any strain that I've put in terms of like healthy plants is always, frosted over. Often shade leaves, everything has produced glands, and that's just something that I've noticed with every strain that I put into aquaponics. And I think it comes back to the presence of the microbes, because I see a lot in like I mentioned, the Probiotic Farmers Alliance, or Korean natural farming, or different types of farming that are heavy on microbes. And I feel like you see that a lot.
Yeah, aquaponics definitely brings it out because you've got that diverse microbial population, not just soil microbial life, but the aquatic microbial life, and they're just bringing in just the fattest flow of nutrients to the plants with ease. Like, I hardly ever pH my nutrient solutions. I just pH the fish water, really. And I'd never see any lockouts or anything for our plants because those microbes are making everything available as needed. Like, I have full confidence in that. I just keep it in the teas, keep it in good quality, clean nutrients, factoring veg foliar with optic foliar, as we were hearing earlier about that product line. I love it. And I've never seen anything out of hand with my plants. It's always been just Frost City. Every now and then you'll see something that stands out a little bit more, like the Crystal Cookies or the Cross of the Titans. But all the others in there, still Frost over perfect, like you said. But yeah, that's all that's really going on with me. And it looks like JR is doing a little tour of his room right now.
Yeah, I'll turn the volume off. I mean, I'll turn the mic off.
Oh, no, dude, that's fine. I have nothing else really to say other than check me out on Instagram and subscribe to my channel on YouTube, Fish Ganja Guy. And let's take a look at JR's flower room.
Yeah, here's the flower room. Ba, ba, ba.
Don't forget, you have to be 18 or over, or you can't be watching this video.
That's right. No kids allowed.
You just can't grow any.
But yeah, here's some of the Thin Mint. I'll see if I can get in here.
So trikey.
Yeah, getting some nice tacoing on there. Some crystal rails. And,
how far along are those?
What strain is that?
I'm right now in the middle of week 6. This is Thin Mint cut of the Girl Scout cookies. And I got a double scrog here to keep things supported. Quite a bit of it came up through the second scrog. I was really happy about that. This right here is that raw cookies from Brad from Raw Genetics. I don't know, you can't really see with this, but there's pink and purple hues all in this plant. It's just gorgeous.
Nice heads on it.
Yeah, it does all right. It's probably a medium producer for a cookie strain. So yeah, I'm replacing this light here and this light here with the 630 ceramic metal halide double linded. I picked up 2 of those from Sun Spectra, and
okay,
I'm going to be rocking those on the next round that I have flowering.
Awesome. Those are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, the lens I have doesn't really give you allow you to see the true color of this raw cookies. It's just really spectacular. And I only cracked 2 seeds. I got them, 1 male and 1 female. And so this is the only female pheno that I've even seen of it. I still have, I think, 11 more beans of it. And I've seen guys come out with more cone pyramid-shaped buds, where this pheno has more fatter, more foxtail-y type, trichome on trichome, or I mean calyx on calyx type of situation. And I'm running a dehumidifier at night when the light cycle goes off. And during the lights on, I'm not using it. I've got a fan here that I'm using for scrubbing the air, just open scrub. And I got fresh air intake that I clogged because we had some 80-degree weather here. So I had to plug this, but I run fresh air intake all the way up until the summertime. But yeah, that's the flower room.
Saw some recharge there. All right.
Yeah, gotta give out some love for the recharge here. Oh, we got some our Mammoth tea. I like getting these small sample bottles from those guys. That way they stay nice and fresh.
What's
and also,
what's on your shelf? We should do this. We should raid people's rooms and be like, "What's on your shelf?"
And then I got my unsulfured molasses, which you can go to your local farm or feed store, and you can get a bucket of unsulfured molasses. It's a pretty large bucket. I think it's like a 3-gallon bucket for like $14.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I'm going to be shooting a video here as soon as I get done talking to you guys, and I'm going to be making the announcement for the overgrow and the optic foliar giveaway.
Dope.
Yeah.
Make sure you what was the name of the channel again, so I can plug it in here? J period R period Tokin.
Yeah, J period R period space Tokin TOKIN.
K-I-N. All right.
TOKIN.
All right. Now, okay, I got you now. I was fucking that up.
Right on.
I got that in the description now.
But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'm gonna go ahead and shoot a video and post it up tonight.
Awesome.
All right. Later, buddy. See you soon.
And I'll talk to you soon, and I'll hopefully see you next week. I'll come on with Dinesh.
Awesome. That would be great. Have you got a chance to use some of their other products? Do you want to talk about that for a minute at all, or you want to save that for next week?
The products that I have used are these ATAC, Transport, Watts, and Rev.
Nice.
I use optic foliars. It's called Overgrow, and it's the combination of the 4 bottles. And there's a recipe that Dinesh gave me. It's 40 milliliters of the Rev, 40 milliliters of the Watts, 40 milliliters of the Transport, and 30 milliliters of the ATAC. And you use that for 1 gallon. And that will make a whole gallon of their Overgrow product, which is got copper sulfate in it, which makes less hospitable for powdery mildew spores. And they do have a little bit of some organically derived pyrethrum in it, or one of the natural one, not the synthetic one. I get them confused. Has a little bit of that in there. In the ATAC.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey, take it easy, buddy.
Thanks for joining us.
Growers
love.
All right.
Hey, I gotta get going too, Steve. I'm gonna go get some dinner with the family.
All right, get out of here.
All right, guys. I'll see you soon.
Marty lost connection too, so we lost Marty. Hopefully, Marty will be back. We're going to talk about. There's a couple of topics that we were talking about this week that we really want to touch on that happened this week in the news and stuff. And
all right, guys. I'll talk to you later. And I know you haven't heard it in a while, but growers love.
Yep. Be sure to check out his channel. Be sure to check out his Dude Grow Show. Why don't you plug that real quick before you go?
Yeah, I was did another interview on Dude Grow Show last Friday. I just gave Steve the link a little while ago, so I think he's going to post that in the description. Talking about dual root zone aquaponics and the side-by-side between Spectrum King and Black Dog LED that I'm doing right now. And be sure to check out my Instagram, Fish Ganja Guy, and also my YouTube channel. Just look up Fish Ganja Guy, and you can get a little look at what's going on. I'm going to be putting up another video in the next week, actually maybe 2. One's garden update, and another one is just how I personally like to take care of my mother plants, I should say. So that way they last a long time, don't get root bound, and you don't stress them out. So anyways, take it easy, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks.
Do
man.
it.
Bye, Steve. Bye, Brian. Bye, Roger.
Peace out, man.
Bye, everybody
Yeah, I
else.
want to look at that LED video you put up.
Dude, check them out. It's going great.
Yep. Brian, do you want to tell us what you've been up to this week?
Yeah, I've pretty much just been working on my new system for the past couple of days. I actually kind of took a day off today. I've just been chilling because probably the 2 days before that, I probably put in a total of like 16 to 20 hours between both days just putting my new system together. I've been making sure I'm trying to think of everything that I need to make sure that it's airtight, not to release any pollen into the rest of the room. I got my biochar done. I added that into the rest of my grow media. And I will go ahead and report the results of my water testing here. My pH went up from 7 to about a 7.8, so I'm working on bringing that back down already. The goldfish don't really mind it too much. The ammonia level was at 8.0 or higher. It was pretty dark whenever I tested it. The little API test vial. And then a couple days after I have been running the system, tested it again, and I got 4 parts per million on that, so that was pretty good on that. My nitrates have already begun to develop. They registered at 1/2 of 1. And oddly enough, when I tested my nitrates, it actually registered at 5 parts per million, but I'm guessing that's probably more due to my rainwater. And then that's pretty much what I've been working on. And I just kind of wanted to touch on one political item. Right now, Texas has a House Bill 2107 that is in the hands of Chairman Price. He's a chairman of a certain committee. They had a hearing about this bill. I believe it was on Tuesday. After that committee, we would find out that 8 out of 11 committee members now support the bill. And what this is going to do is open up access to full plant cannabis other than CBD only varieties. And the only the only condition qualify you for the previous version of this law was intractable epilepsy, and expanded to go from cancer to PTSD to spinal injury to any other conditions that may be considered debilitating by a physician. So and text the phone and call Chairman Price and let him know that you are in support of this bill. The only thing that I'm not really in support of is the crazy licensing fees and the fact that there's only 3 dispensaries that as of May 3rd have been approved to start business by the end of this year, possibly having their first product out. And for a 2-year license, you're looking at $488,000. And then for biennial renewal, you're looking at $318,000. And so that's pretty shitty. That's kind of monopolistic in my opinion, and especially the way things are on track for the way that hearing turned out. we had really positive results from that, where it's really on track for these three companies to really just start turning massive profit off of the medicinal market. So that sucks. But from the sounds of how that went down, which this was probably like the past hour and a half before I came on the show. I was listening to this whole testimony, and one of the people that testified was a doctor whose son is autistic, and she's like I can't remember what she was a doctor for, but she was a highly accomplished doctor, and she was injured by her own child who has autism, and because of the nature of her injury, which is a ruptured cornea, she can no longer work in the ER. And there was just all kinds of crazy, heartfelt, and emotional testimony being heard on the floor. And the chairman seemed like not even halfway into it, that he was convinced himself. Because one of the other doctors that testified was talking about how doctors nowadays have to struggle with making moral choices of prescribing higher doses of medications that could be potentially deadly, such as opioids and benzodiazepines and stuff like that. So I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about. I have the phone number here. I don't know if it's cool to plug it, if that's cool with you, Steve, to call Chairman Price and let him know if you were in Texas. Would that be cool?
Steve.
That's awesome. Do you want to tell us what you've been up to, Roger?
No, I mean, did you just ask if it'd be cool if you posted an address?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The phone number. There's two phone numbers that you can reach Chairman Price at, and one of them is 512-463-0806, and the other is 512-463-0470. I'm guessing this is probably only for people who live in Texas. So if you don't live in Texas, probably not to call. But if you do live in Texas, I would absolutely urge you to call and voice your support of this bill, because it's actually going to give us a viable medicinal cannabis bill.
What district is he in, so that everyone can look up a Google address and pretend to be from there?
Good question.
I'm not 100% sure. I tried to do all the research that I could real quick before I came on the show and took my little notes and whatnot, so I tried to be as prepared as I could, but I don't know that information, unfortunately, off the top of my head.
Cool. Well, I'm sure we can look him up. Marty's having some power issues or something with the thunderstorm. He's gonna hopefully be back. Roger, what have you been up to?
Well, I'm on the wrong computer tonight, so I don't have any video.
That's
And
okay.
I'm a big blue guy. It says you, so I don't. It's kind of crazy. But I showed my big old crazy self last time. We've been trying to. I've been working on my farm and getting the rain gutter grow system going a little bit, and me and Aquaponic Dummy are working on a project. I think this is along your lines. We found somebody that wants to build a medical marijuana growing facility, and they want to do aquaponics.
Oh, cool.
And they want to use it to grow and harvest fish for food and for wholesale, and
Awesome.
as well as to provide their grow facility with it's a very large situation, and Aquaponic Dummy and I were talking about it, and he said he couldn't. He said, yeah, that's going to be something, because they're talking about 500 plants to start, kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, we can definitely You can
caregiver.
shoot me an email about that after the show. We can talk about that more. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool because they're real worried. They're real serious. And yeah, we'll talk about that after the show. No,
what else is
basically,
new
I'm
with
just
you?
trying to keep up with my land and the forums and everything like that. Where, well, hey, I'll tell you what. Aquaponic Dummy has been a great friend and a great partner, and as you know, we were building our website, and I got him to post a couple blog articles. He wrote a nice article on flushing and arguments pro and con about it, and he's kind of a con about it, somewhat, but he explained the whole thing about it, and then he also wrote an article about so if anybody wants to read a couple of great blog articles by Aquaponic Dummy, you can go to ilovegrowingsupplies.com and check out the blog.
Awesome.
And we're still building it, so don't hold it against me. It's not ready yet, but I don't mind letting you have a sneak peek. We're working, real hard to get that going and support people with real-time growth support and all. And we're going to try to run some classes now. We had some really positive feedback this week where members of the forum were talking about how because we talk about what we're doing in the forum to see what the feedback is, to see if there's any interest, which is why we're putting it all, the grow supply, which is a different kind of grow supply, because we're going to do a grow supply where it's more agriculturally based bulk supply, and then we'll break it down from bulk in a co-op kind of situation is what we're hoping, where we allow to provide everybody an opportunity to invest in basically getting it like for the same price we get it for. It's a lot of logistics and all that, but I got hey, I'm dreaming here. Here's my pipe dream, and I'm looking at this big fishy. That your background is great this week.
Yeah,
I tell you,
helping.
yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm going, okay. Yeah, I've been medicating. Well, I was listening.
Yeah, Origami Tony hooked up the fish here. Hold on, check it out. Is it?
Yeah, that's really cool, man.
The origami fish. Homie just did that.
Oh yeah. How about that? See, I noticed.
Yeah, we have. I love living in like art communes, man. They're the best. There's always cool people doing all kinds of cool things, being inspiring.
What? Hey, I might as well bring it up now. Since you invite me in and let me hang out, and I enjoyed it. I want to say real quick, Spectrum King podcast. I watched the whole thing from last week.
Man, that was such a good podcast last week.
And I agree. I still like HID, but the whole thing about the white light and the light penetration and the fact that it's the first LED person I've ever heard talk about lumens and white light and penetration, which is where the HID, I think has always kicked the LED's butt. And then they're talking about how they figure, the way they configure their lights and their spectrums is to make that penetration and the brighter, at least that's how I took it. I don't know. I thought that was great last week. That was a great, and I've already told, I even passed it on, Steve. I passed it on to some people on the forum, said, hey, look at this. Yep. People asked about LEDs. I said, go look at this. Yeah,
they covered a bunch of really technical topics in a really, really good way, and it was, I don't know, everything from vapor pressure deficit to lumens to how to read how good your light is to the differences between LEDs and other lights. I mean, it was a really good episode last week. And for that matter, the episode, 2 episodes before that, the guy with Kapow talking about pest control. Was really equally as good in a different way. I also wanted to plug that one as well, which I thought was particularly good.
So I'm starting to pass that on because we're on our forum. I haven't done it yet, but I've been lazy because I've got, it's not like it's the only thing I got to do, but I need to get it done. We're gonna open up. I'm gonna open up a forum, part of the forum for aquaponics, and have like Aquaponic Dummy have his own like section, to discuss that. And then we're also going to open a podcast section. And I might as well go ahead and ask you. There's 2 questions I wanted to ask you. Sure. First of all, if I start a podcast network, will you be part of it?
Absolutely.
Okay. And second question is, do you like music?
Yeah.
Can I write a jingle for your show?
For the intro, we actually have
like good pod. Yeah, I grew up. I did the Philippine.co.uk podcast, and they all had like little jingles or something, to kick the show off.
We actually have a really cool version that I just need to. We keep tinkering with it, but my roommates have actually done a really awesome. Oh, it's with cross mixing Aqua Boogie from. Damn it, he's not here right now. I forget the name of the band. Aqua Boogie with something funkadelic, and I don't know. It's like 3 songs mixed together, and it is a really cool like aquaponic sounding intro that we have. We just gotta do a final version of it that's good enough to set up. All right, we're about to like really step up the production quality of the show. I've been working with my roommates on the last.
Well, I wanted to offer my services because I'm a professional musician, and I've got recording quality stuff. And
that would be awesome. Maybe we can do like some like a little commercial for your I love growing supplies or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, our Aquaponic Dummy and I's slate is I love growing supplies. But we're actually got a brand. We finally decided on a brand which I cannot release until maybe after the show. But I love growing supplies is where that store is going to turn into. It's not going to be your average store. You're not just going to go there and like try to buy Fox Farm. It's going to be supplies for aquaponics and supplies for fertigation and people that want to mix their own nutrients even for hydroponics, because I have formulas for that. And so I'm going to buy the 50 count, the 50-pound bags, and then rebrand it, bag it up. If you actually literally want to make your own nutrients, just like a commercial hydroponic farmer would, I'll send you everything, and you can literally measure it out, weigh it out, and make your own solution. I think we're all kind of doing stuff like that in our own way, but I think that's the only way to do it anymore. There's no way to buy and resell anybody.
Especially after the Guardian fiasco, who the hell knows what's in the bottle that you're buying anyway?
Well, that's the thing too. But in my case, this is this stuff is things I would buy, just like calcinite, potassium nitrate, all the just the same exact things you'd buy from an agricultural supply, where maybe you don't use it in aquaponics, but if you have a commercial hydroponics, you use calcinite, potassium nitrate, iron, magnesium sulfate, sulfate of potash, MAP, MKP, and then all your chelates for your micronutrients, which I'm not going to go into all that. But you could break it down. People are starting to want to do, like you're saying, you don't know what it's doing. It's kind of like, I'm certified, so that, I guess it's one of those deals where, I don't know what licensing it might take, but I'm all I'm doing is taking which is funny enough, the calcinite that comes from Israel, it's made in Israel. It's a product of Israel that all hydroponic growers across the world use, in the Middle East and everywhere else. And and break it down into 5 or 10 pound bags. So if a guy really wanted to make his, or if anyone, a guy, gal, whoever wanted to make their own thing, they could actually take and measure it out by grams or whatever and make their own 100 gallons or 20 gallons of their own solution. And if you get into it, you know the same thing. You know this from your experience. As you get into it, you start with your balance formula, and then you want to add a little more potassium here or there, or you want to inject some MKP in there for some phosphate, and then boom, you get that root production, that metabolism goes, and it's just great. But then you get that old sense of it. It's I bought this and I made my own hydroponic solution, or whatever. It's kind of like what you guys are doing. In a way, you got your fish, but then you add this and you add that, you add this, and So, and you're doing the same thing, aren't you? Aren't you all starting to break it down where you're developing your own lines or products where you are going to be saying this is how you can do it like me, kind of thing?
I'm sorry, you cut out the last little part. What was that again?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you just repeat that last little bit, or the last sentence?
Aren't you? Well, basically, I was getting down to, what I was talking about is that it seems like we're all getting to this point to where we've been working in this industry for a while, and we're all trying to find our own niche, and we're all trying to make a living off of it too, in a way.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with getting paid for what you know.
Yep.
And so you're just like I am, and just like Dummy didn't like this. It's funny, Aquaponic Dummy. I don't want to go sideways, but he didn't want to get into manufacturing or anything. But that's another story for another time when he's here. But but like you, I think you're doing your aquaponics. So you're making and it's a different because like you said, you explained to me last show I was invited to join that you really have to watch, like no nitrogen because the fish provide that, right? And you have really low iron. If you have to add any iron, you better be really careful. And then the 25% rule, I remember a lot of that stuff like that. But see, I shouldn't have gone there. Stoner moment.
Yeah, I went too many doobies.
Yeah, OG Kush. Yeah.
Man, I'm glad I haven't had any moments like that on podcast yet.
Oh shoot, I went sideways because I'm trying. I was hanging in there for a while, but
so
I guess I'll just pass now.
Sure. I had a couple of topics I wanted to talk about. So, California passed historic medical marijuana laws. Would limit medical patients to buying up to 8 ounces of cannabis flower per day. Dispensaries could no longer give free samples. It would also limit edibles to no more than 100 milligrams per package, which is completely ridiculous, especially if you're in a ton of pain, a cancer patient, a seizure patient, anyone that actually has a serious medical condition. This now increases your tax rate for your medicine, which is completely ridiculous. And there's no reason for any of this. This is just asinine. I hate when they do this. This is the biggest thing that you really need to make sure that your state provides protections for. If you're in a state that hasn't legalized yet, make sure they don't pull this kind of crap.
How are they taxing it? Can I ask?
Well, because you can only get so much per package, and then have a little extra bonus. They have like a per unit tax as well. It's like 2% or something stupid.
Okay, the percentage. Okay.
Yeah, so you get an extra bonus tax on top of your already expensive medication. So it's just completely ridiculous. They're also going to require mandatory testing, which I don't disagree with at all. I kind of think that should be required. And a couple of other things, but it's just they're getting more and more ridiculous with this. And combined with the fact that they're limiting people to 22,000 square feet of grow area, definitely complicates things for people trying to get into the industry. So so that was one of the topics I want to touch on. The other one was, I don't know if you guys saw, Green Relief Incorporated opened their first 32,000 square foot facility quite a while ago. I've been working with them for a bit. Now they're selling, as of this past Tuesday, 2 days ago, are selling their cannabis now in Canada. They're the first aquaponic cannabis producer in all of Canada to sell to the public, so that was pretty dope. I did a bunch of work with them and their nutrient stuff, and switched their system over to the dual root zone system, which if you guys go look on the any of the pictures of their system now, you can see the dual root zone rafts that they have there, converting their lettuce system over. So that was really cool. There was a new study out about medical cannabis and patients using much fewer opioids, antidepressants, and drinking a lot less. So that was another really cool article that got published. It's based on the journal. It's like psychopharmacology, and it was really cool to see, some of the psychiatric industry backing up the medical cannabis industry. You don't see that a whole lot, and it was really cool to see that, especially with the opioid epidemic we have in the United States. We really need to focus on stamping that out, because that kills people. The worst somebody will do with weed is they'll eat too much and sleep for an extra day and a half or something, That's about it with cannabis. Nobody dies, It's a big difference between that and opioids.
Here, here.
Yeah, at that hearing, that's one nail that people repeatedly kept on hammering on and really drilled it into those people's heads, so.
Yep. And one of the other ones is Canada is really wants to do completely blank labeling on all edibles and super generic labeling. And companies are kind of upset that they can't get any kind of distinguishing between their products and other people's products. It's definitely something we haven't seen in other areas, so that's something to consider. And then Jamaica is now considering selling Jamaican branding for Jamaican branded cannabis and other things, which would basically completely sell out the whole industry there as a whole. They've also made it so the average costs for even a small ganja farm in Jamaica now, under the current new regulations, is a little over $1 million Jamaican, which is completely insane. Most Jamaicans don't have more than maybe $20,000 or $40,000. Oh no, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. But they have maybe $500,000 to $1 million, in their possession, which sounds like a lot, but you have to remember that it's 107 to 1, exchange rate. So last time I checked. So, but Jamaica doesn't have a ton of money, and a lot of these farmers have maybe $50,000 to $100,000 in cash at any one time. They do most of their trade versus by bartering and stuff like that, especially away from the cities. So they really don't have a whole lot of money. So for them to apply for $1 million for licenses is quite a bit. So it's kind of ridiculous. And they're basically just trying to price out the guys that actually know how to grow, which how often have we seen that in the United States? But it's particularly bullshit in Jamaica, where those guys have been persecuted for so long.
They're limiting the amount of people because of the amount of money they have. And like you said, we always said, if you haven't said it, I'm sure you've heard it, that won't be legal until the corporate world can control it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, normal people can't fuck with that entry barrier.
Oh, my God, it's the same old shit again.
Yep. The other topic.
Like Marlboro's in 4 states. Yep. They have a pack of Marlboro that's a leaf green that looks like a pack of Marlboro menthols, but it's got a pot leaf on it, and they're selling it for some ungodly price per pack, and it's in 4 states out west. Well, you should know about that, Steve, don't you? I hate to advertise, but I'm sorry, man. I apologize. There I go again, advertising about the enemy. Cool. But it just sucks. Okay.
there's two other topics I was going to touch on. First off, this like literally just got announced. Rip Adam from the Beastie Boys. He just passed away at 47 from salivary gland cancer. I'm sure all of us that smoke a lot of cannabis have listened to a lot of Beastie Boys, and it's really sad to see another one of the Beastie Boys leave us. So,
innovative band, very innovative band.
Yeah, hell yeah. And then I also want to talk about Oregon's new. I feel like we're talking about Oregon every week. Like this is, I don't, and I was really hoping Marty. Hold on, let me see. If Marty can get back in now. Oregon just passed a new thing trying to crack down on butane production, but it classifies all extraction, including bubble hash, dry sift, rosin pressing, anything that's not flour is now considered a felony in Oregon, which is completely insane. I think we all agree that no one should be open blasting butane at home. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But there's no reason why anyone shouldn't be able to do solventless extraction at home. It presents no danger to anyone. And it's just completely insane the way the new law has been interpreted by the lawyers. So it also includes tinctures. You can't make tinctures. You can't make edibles. Anything that would concentrate it in any form now is considered a felony in Oregon, which is completely insane. And there's just, again, simply no reason for this kind of stuff. And again, I was hoping Marty would be here for this because he understands it a lot more. He's read up more on it. And
well, I know part of it is because the fact that edibles, you don't have a controllable amount of where you know how strong it is, and people get carried away and they eat too much of it. And as we all know, it's not harmful to you if you smoke too much or whatever, you go to sleep. But, you know, you can pretty much trip and feel pretty shitty if you do too much edibles. And I think that's been proven lately. And that was the argument. That's the argument, that people were being irresponsible with edibles, and they weren't controlling and making sure people understood the amount of the dosage that they were getting when they took edibles. And that was where all that problem came from.
Yep.
I think.
Alrighty. I think that was...
Well, we're a lively bunch now, aren't we?
Yep. Oh, I have one more thing I want to talk about. So there's been a big clamor about Jeff Sessions and his little supposed crackdown on the cannabis industry, and I just wanted to say there's a little bit of some follow-up news with that. So Jeff Sessions actually was completely unable to get any funding for a crackdown in the new federal spending bill. They allocated absolutely $0 towards a federal crackdown on marijuana in any form, medical or recreational. So at least funding wise, he doesn't have a whole hell of a lot to work with.
That would be a win for us then. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely. So it would be, one small step for ganja smokers, one giant leap for smoker kind, or something.
$0 for the government, supposedly.
Absolutely. I guess I should talk about what I've been up to. I've been working with Raphael on a couple projects. I got a top secret project that I will hopefully be able to tell you guys more about in the future in California. Yeah, I'll be talking to you guys about that in the future. I got posted a pickup from Puerto Rico. There's a project I've been working with a little over a year now down in Puerto Rico, and they're finally have a pretty big farm. They have some vegetables and cannabis growing. The cannabis construction just started. They have some of the veggie sections up. Posted some pictures up for that today. What's going on? Oh, Canada. The project up in Canada is coming along slowly but surely. So it should be up there by sometime mid to late summer or early fall. Before that, we'll have some cool video for you guys for there. We'll have some video series coming up on how to start your seeds. I'm working on that right now. Threw a video up the other day of some rosin pressing, so you guys could see that. I got some bubble machines and some other stuff coming to the shop, so we can start doing mostly bubble and the rosin press, and I'll have some video of that. I'll have a video series on going from trim to and flower to rosin, and the whole process start to finish. So we'll have some of that. Oh yeah, so on Saturday we have a really cool video on aquaponic worms that they have over at Ouroboros Farms. That'll be pretty cool. And then on Monday, I have a video up on compost tea brewer and the remineralization tanks over at the at Ouroboros Farms. I think you guys will like that a lot. It'll be kind of a little series on that. Yeah, so there's you guys will like that a lot. There's a couple other videos that'll go with it. Definitely check it out Saturdays and Mondays. I'm trying to post videos now on the channel as well. Trying to do some more educational stuff. I'll have some more mineral stuff. Yeah, I have another video series that we're working on that I have some videos done for. I just haven't queued up yet. So I think you guys will like it as far as trying to improve the overall content on the channel as far as aquaponics related and growing related. So I'm trying to push for 3 videos a week now. So you kind of expect that going forward. As much as I'm able to time-wise. So, yeah. Is there any other topics that you guys wanted to touch on this week as far as aquaponic stuff, or you guys had seen in the news or anything?
Not really, man. I pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about as far as politics and stuff like that, especially.
I think it's a shame that Joni died. Aaron Moran, but a lot of you guys are too young for that. But yeah, the Joni from Happy Days died this past week, so that was a sad thing for us older people. She was much younger than me, so we kind of wow. So Happy Days.
Yep. Alrighty. Are you still there, Raphael? If not, I think he might have left a while ago and just forgot the computer on. So I guess we'll wrap the show up unless anybody else has anything else to bring up. We'll bring up this Oregon stuff again tomorrow with not tomorrow, next episode with Marty. So I appreciate everyone coming on the show today. Definitely check out my stuff over at Ponics on YouTube. You can email me at potentponics@gmail.com. Also check out the classes. I teach classes over at ouroborosfarms.com in Half Moon Bay, California, just outside San Francisco. If you want to take an in-person class. Yeah, and if we might have some other stuff coming out soon too. See if you guys like it. Definitely check out the content on the channel. Check out Marty at apmeds.com. Fish Ganja Guy at APMeds on YouTube. Sorry. Fish Ganja Guy at Fish Ganja Guy on YouTube. What is your I know JR Tokin on YouTube. Brian, do you want to plug your stuff?
Yeah, just you can find me on YouTube and Instagram. Just look for Brain Grow. Otherwise, email me. You got to add the W if you want to email me, which I don't know. That's weird. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Cool. Are any of the panel here? Are any of the panel here veterans, or those were just guests?
Only the Army Post Office, which doesn't really count.
Okay. I meant, all right, never mind. Sorry.
But if you have anything you want to plug there, Roger, feel free.
No, I'm very good. Thanks for having me. I just came to make some comments, and I appreciate the invitation. and I think we had some fun, and there was a
Oh, you know what? We had some questions from chat I never got to, and hold on, I should probably answer those.
Yeah, now that
Hold on.
everybody's gone.
Now that everybody's gone. Well, yeah, you know, then they still can't say they didn't get answered. You know, I want to hear it. No, I'm just kidding. Kadak actually asked, what is the desirable nitrate level? I totally forgot about that earlier. So in veg, you want 40 to 80, you know, closer to the 60 to 80 range. And then in flower, you want to aim for, you know, 20, maybe 30. Much more than that, you'll end up with larvae or smaller buds. Yeah, it just kind of causes problems. So those are kind of your target ranges. Sorry for the late answer. I don't even know if Kadak's here anymore or not, but apologize to him for not answering that sooner.
The cool thing is you did it on the podcast, though, so he can watch the podcast, and you brought him up at the end of the show.
He's been on the show before. He's a really good guy. He's even won some of the giveaways. So. Oh, there we go. There's one of the starter plants.
I love it. It's a real nursery pot.
Chem Dog and G13.
Yeah.
So
old school. Yeah.
Little garden going. We got about to set up some AP systems here, and we'll get it going. You guys will see. We also have a new channel I'll be working on. Just with I'll plug it real late here because there's nothing. You know, it's the end of the show. We're working on a new show called Poppin' Caps, which is a soda and beer review channel. I can't drink beer, but I can drink cider. But I'll mostly do the sodas. And there's a really cool store near us that does, I don't know, has a couple thousand different kinds of soda and beer. So we're going to start reviewing these different cool ones. We have a bacon chocolate soda, I think we got for the first episode. So definitely check that out. And a Mortal Kombat beer. So this will be our two episodes. So, oh, here we go. Someone else had a question. Premium organic silicate for aquaponics. What is the question, Jose? Can you use silica products in aquaponics? It really just depends on what it is, but most of them are okay. Most of them will also raise your pH, so just be mindful of that.
Ah, that's good information.
Does anyone else in chat have any other questions before we end the show? I'm going to try and do maybe next episode, once we have all the equipment at the lab, maybe we'll switch over and do an episode over at the shop. And we'll do an episode where we do the podcast from there. We'll do like a press it, you know, do bubble hash. And then we'll take some bubble hash that's already dry and we'll press it and do the whole start to finish for you guys on video for the show. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, we'll have a bunch of cool content. The next 3 months, I'll be probably in Puerto Rico at some point between now and the next 3 months for a short while. And then we'll be off to Canada for that project. So you guys will, I think you guys will like what we got coming up. And yeah, definitely check out the channel. I know I haven't seen too many remineralization videos out there, so I think you guys will like it. Thanks everybody for watching. If anyone else has anything else to say last minute, now's your chance. If not, thanks everyone for watching. Alrighty, cheers.